People are always surprised when you tell them that there's a baseball team in Ireland. It doesn't matter if they're from the States or Ireland, they just think you're screwing with them.
So I was walking down Grafton Street in 1990, spring of 1990, and I saw a bumper sticker, a window sticker that said Irish Softball Association. I said, there's no way, this is a joke or something. But you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And when I saw softball, baseball, it's got to be a possibility. Ran up, banged on his window. He looks at me like a carjacker or something like that. I go, softball, you play softball here? And he says, yeah. And he's about to drive away, and I'm trying to stop him. I go, no, I need to play. How do I get in contact? He said, a guy by the name of John Keys, it's in the book. And he drove away. And I immediately went home, looked up the phone book, went through the number of John Keys that were on the north side of Dublin, rang him up. He heard my accent. He said, yeah, we play. We have a small league.
The game of softball that we play here in Ireland is slow pitch co-ed softball, which is primarily a recreational sport.
Softball's a bit of fun. It's a fun game, but I guess I always kind of thought of it as a recreational game. And I must say myself, when I was playing softball, I couldn't help but, take it a bit more competitively, probably, too competitively.
Some of the guys had lived in the States or had been born in the States and were living here now and just wanted something with a bit more of an edge.
And then in 1995, a number of us said softball's all right, we're having a good time, but we wanted a more competitive kind of outlet, and baseball was the natural progression. At that time, we had grown to maybe 30 guys who were playing the game at the moment. We had no league. We just go out and play scrimmage games. And we knew that the European B Pool Championships were going to take place in England in 1996. And we said, well, why not? We could do this. We'll organize flights. We'll take as many guys as we can with regard to the money. We'll order our uniforms and we'll just go play.
At the time I was working in a video store, so the first thing I had to do was arrange my shifts around the tournament. So that was kind of difficult to do. The boss that I was working for didn't believe there was a baseball team in Ireland, and the usual, I'm sure everybody went through the same at that period.
The first practice we had out in Marley Park, which is kind of South Dublin area, there was maybe 15 guys. And we had baseball, and they all had the gloves and bats and all that kind of stuff, but we were just out in a parkland where they normally play soccer or Gaelic sports.
Where we actually trained is now a reservoir where they have fishing, licensed fishing. So it was a bit swampy.
We'd no equipment. We had a temporary backstop that was made up of poles and nets.
Jim Kilbride and Brian Connolly would compete with each other to come up with the better makeshift backstop. Pieces of wood stuck into the ground with chicken wire practically wrapped from one end to the other. We had bases and that kind of thing. We stole them from softball teams.
We were all using our softball gloves, big floppy things that we've been sort of throwing around for years.
Some of the guys, the pitchers, had never thrown off a mound.
The grass was too long and we had about 4 baseballs. It's just a bunch of guys hanging around and we just decide on the fly what to do. It's like, okay, let's do some ground balls, and then okay, do this, and then play a scratch game.
The mood of the team going was really, really upbeat because we had absolutely no idea of what to expect. And I suppose looking back in hindsight, you know, we were looking at the competition that we were up against and we thought, well, Norway, I mean, how big can baseball possibly be in Norway? Surely they're going to be the same as us. And, you know, Lithuania, how good can they possibly be? And so, you know, we were in for a pretty rude awakening.
The 1996 European B-Pool Championships were held in Hull, England. The roster of Ireland's first national baseball team was an unlikely array of players with various levels of experience. Brothers and battery mates Sean and Noel Mitchell were native Dubliners who had spent part of their childhood in Philadelphia playing baseball in the backyard and rooting for the hometown Phillies. There was centre fielder John Dillon, an accomplished rugby player who had given it up at age 25 to try his hand at baseball. Darren O'Connor was the youngest member of the squad at the tender age of 18, while catcher Mick Manning was twice his age. Ireland made its international debut against the tournament favourite, the powerful Czech Republic, on the 8th of August 1996. The boys from Dublin were as green as they were proud, but from the moment they stepped onto the field, they knew things would not be easy.
I mean, when we saw them warming up and so on, they obviously looked, you know, much smoother than we do, and you know, they were pretty intimidating.
We didn't take batting practice before the first game because the Czechs had gone out first, and these guys were studs, and they were bashing the ball like frozen ropes, left, right, over the wall. And I was talking to one of the coaches, and I said, "Oh man, this is nasty. This is a psychological game. If we lose, we're not going to lose our pride." And he said, "I agree, let's not take BP."
Despite their doubts, the Irish got off to a surprising start, thanks to Gus Hernandez, a scrappy infielder from Dublin, by the way of Guadalajara, Mexico.
Hi, my name is Gus Hernandez.
Gus O. Hernandez, you mean?
Yeah, the Kerry boy.
That fine Kerry accent.
I'm from Guadalajara, Mexico originally, and I came to Dublin in 1989 because my wife is from Dublin. I was the first at bat against the Czech Republic and the first international baseball game, you know, for Ireland. Well, I felt great, you know, okay, let's see what's happening. I just saw the pitch was strong pitcher, left-hander. So I get in the box and everything. The first pitching, I saw the ball coming straight to me in the middle, and I just go for it. When I hit the ball, I just start running. And then before I go first base, I heard the noise, the shouting, everybody was great, you know.
I guess it was very surprising that Gus got a hit to begin with. It was a huge moment for us, really.
We thought, this is the greatest thing. Gus gets a hit, lead off, we're laughing.
You could see Gus's grin from the dugout. I mean, everybody was really thrilled at the time.
I felt like I was really an Irish person that day, you know. I was proud.
We thought, this really isn't that difficult. We can all do this. We were thinking ahead. Brian's up a couple of bars. Maybe he can get Gus around. We're going to score a couple of runs in the first inning.
When that first hit came in, there was just that fraction of a second when you thought, is it possible? Can we actually do something here? You know, maybe we're all wrong coming here with no expectations. Maybe we should have high expectations.
The Czechs were very, very relaxed, and they had a kind of a little grin, the pitcher had a little grin in his face, and I think we should have really known what was coming.
Well, immediately he got picked off first base anyway by a big left-handed pitcher that we'd never really seen a left-handed pitcher before. So that kind of took the wind out of our sails very quickly.
It was just one of those days. The Czechs pounded Irish pitching from start to finish, winning by a score of 23-2. But it would take more than that to discourage the boys in green.
At the end of the game, I'd never seen a happier bunch of guys coming off the diamond after getting massacred 23-2, because we had done it. We had proven that not only could we play, we could put on the uniforms, we could score runs.
They could certainly score runs, but not enough to win. The Irish dropped the next 3 games to Norway, Poland and Lithuania. They had been outscored by a combined total of 77-18. They had committed 35 errors. Irish pitchers had allowed 45 walks and 35 hits. With 1 game remaining, frustration was beginning to set in. Could the Irish win a game? Could they even come close? With only one game remaining, it seemed like the answer was no.
We were worried about going home without a win. We were worried about going home and telling people that we'd taken all their time and effort and all our time and effort and come back with nothing. We were really getting our asses handed to us basically at that stage.
The winless Irish faced off against Yugoslavia in a crucial final game. Returning to Dublin without a victory could have a devastating impact on the future development of Irish baseball.
This was the last game of the tournament. It was do or die. A lot of jitters, you know, a lot of bitten nails and frayed nerves and stuff. So there was a lot of tension in the air. It was nearly something tangible.
Ireland jumped out to an 8-2 lead, but the pesky Yugoslavian club chipped away, scoring 2 in the 4th and 2 more in the 5th.
It was a close game all the way. And I think after the first inning, you know, really, I mean, momentum changes during the game a lot, but you know that you've got a shot.
Once we started getting hits against the Yugoslavs, we knew we had a chance in the game. They looked like they were on their back heels a little bit. They looked a bit like it was the end of the tournament and they wanted to go home, and I think everybody on the team smelt it at that stage. Bill Beglin was pitching really, really well.
Beglin was turning in a masterful performance, relying on a nasty breaking ball to overcome several defensive miscues. The Irish led 8-5 going into the 9th inning. The Slavs scratched out a run at the start of the inning, but Beglin shut them down, earning his 9th strikeout to end the game. Final score, Ireland 8, Yugoslavia 6.
Well, it felt like we won the tournament actually. It was the last game and the first win for Ireland in that tournament. I remember we were celebrating in the middle of the field. We were so happy.
We felt like we definitely arrived in the European scene. We felt like all that training had meant something. On another level, it was very important back home to actually go home with a win, to prove that, yeah, we did something with all the training and with the funding that we'd received. And with a lot of people's time and effort, we had gone there and actually achieved something by winning a game.
It was the perfect finish for us, you know. So the feeling was, of course, you know, very excited and have a few beers as a team afterwards and all the rest. But I think in terms of the future, it was very important for us. Getting a win like that showed us that, you know, obviously we had a lot of work to do, but that we could play at that level.
So the first field we would have played on and trained on was an extremely slopey, poorly drained, lumpy field with no backstop, no pitching mound, and really poor throw down bases.
We'd have to step them off. Some guys would have a long measuring tape, make sure that they were 90 feet, 60 feet, 6 inches to the mound, which is really just somebody using their foot to dig out a bit of mud. And then the backstop, we'd put down metal poles, we'd literally drive them into the ground and then use like netting, almost like tennis court netting, or sometimes we'd have construction netting that somebody would find maybe off a construction site and kind of rope that between the posts.
The development of fields we saw as something that was really, really important, and it was not something that we could have done alone.
Anne Murphy was a fantastic administrator. She had met Peter O'Malley in 1994 because we had a kids program actually up and running before we had adults baseball going. And Peter at that time had said, well, you know, we need to do more for baseball in Ireland. As an Irish American, tremendously proud man, incredibly giving individual as well.
We talked about where baseball was at that stage, and he asked what he could do to help, what was our biggest needs. And at that point we felt that developing a field of our own where we could have our own permanent mound particularly was of the utmost importance, so he offered to help us to pursue that.
Welcome to Corca Park, the home of the National Baseball Facility here in Ireland. And here's the stone to commemorate the opening of the fields we had in 4th of July, 1998. At the time, Jean Kennedy Smith, one of the Kennedys, she was the U.S. ambassador to Ireland. She's a very good friend of the O'Malleys, and she's been a very good friend to Irish baseball as well. She threw out the first pitch here for the opening ceremonies, we actually had an open barbecue for everyone. Peter put on a barbecue for, I'd say there was 600, 700 people. That's a big barbecue.
The building of the field in Corky Park, first of all, obviously gave us a place to play, but mostly it gave Irish baseball a home. There was a home to focus on. There was the league field and an adult field. And finally we had somewhere where when people said, where do you play? We didn't have to say a slopey field in Newlands Cross that doesn't really work. We could say the O'Malley Field in Corky Park, which we're proud to bring opposition teams to. It's a great home for Irish baseball.
We often get a reaction from Americans and so on. Baseball in Ireland, you know, you guys have no business playing baseball in Ireland with all the rain you get and so on. And we do get a lot of rain, and we've had to, you know, approach the design of the field and so on with that in mind. We've put down a surface that has very good drainage. Also, the whole field was dug out with very good drainage. So. And it works pretty well. I mean, we could have torrential rain, and 20 minutes later the field is fit to play on.
I've played in some pretty crappy conditions, snow, rain, hail, sleet. Anything up to the level of where you're like, holy crap, I'm getting soaked, is playable.
I think, count on one hand the number of games that I've seen called off, if that, considering the Irish weather. But I think it was, I know it was last year before, we had a couple of tents lined up on the sideline, and we spent half the day in these tents trying to find some way of keeping out the rain, because it seemed to be whatever direction you moved to, the rain changed and came that way. You know, it was horrific.
Yeah, we play through some horrendous weather. You get bad summers over here, and you can't keep getting rain out after rain out. You know, you're just going to have to buckle up and play through it, you know.
It's probably snowed or hailed at times, but nothing too drastic, nothing that we couldn't handle.
You know, we haven't had to call off too many games, league games and so on, due to rain. Now we will generally play in, you know, some pretty bad stuff sometimes. We've had to call time in a game recently when I got hit in the eye with a hailstone coming across. But generally, and certainly with the training, I mean, we just adopt the attitude of, well, you know, regardless of the weather, we're going ahead. We have a lot of work to get through, and we'll do what we can.
So now that you've got a field in place, that's great. It looks pristine. Now you're playing on a day-to-day. It's in a public place. So there's all sorts of people around the field. We've gone out there and found people playing golf in our infield, you know. Big divots are missing as they hit golf balls against our backstop. So, you know, the day-to-day challenges of the field are get out there, get the bases set up, get out there and make sure the grass gets mowed.
All of us take playing baseball for granted, but it's hard for them in Ireland. It's very, very hard, and they're very dedicated. I go over to Ireland and I watch the men, grown men, playing for the Ireland's national baseball team with their own lawnmowers, with their own rakes, you know, weeding the fields, cutting the grass, lining the fields.
Everybody chips in. No prima donnas here.
That's what we need to keep the field in good shape, because we just have ourselves. We have the league, we have players and a committee, and that's it. There's no backup, there's no groundskeeper or anything like that. We actually have a system out where the home team before a game rakes the field before the game. The worst part is after the game we have to rake it again. So if you've just been beaten, you have to stand there raking the mound from which you sucked.
With a home field and 4 years of playing experience under their belt, Ireland's national baseball team returned to international competition at the 2000 European Championships in Croatia. The veteran Irish lineup was bolstered by the addition of Chris Foy, a first baseman from New York who had recently moved to Dublin. But this year, Ireland's troubles would begin before they even stepped off the plane.
We switched over in London on the flight to Zagreb, and I was sitting in one of the window seats and actually saw them offloading all our equipment.
Some of the guys saw it being taken off the plane before we took off. And we were worried then, you know.
We were sitting there and the plane's starting to back out and all the guys are going, "There's our luggage sitting on the tarmac."
Did you say anything? Did you tell a flight attendant?
No, you see, it's the Irish way. It's you don't actually complain. You just go, "Geez, let me just stay there," you know, hold your breath, and you go, "What are we going to do about that?"
Everybody kept quiet. And then, "Did you see that?" "Yeah, I saw it." "Yeah."
We arrived in Zagreb airport and milled around for a while waiting for our luggage, and then realised it wasn't going to come.
I think 3 bags turned up out of 30 odd, and it was just it was a mess. I was cool, my bag was there.
We had no changes of clothes. People were going into the town and buying pairs of shorts and t-shirts and this kind of thing. We got there for the opening ceremony and still at that point asking questions, making phone calls, trying to track down our luggage. The other teams took the field in their pristine uniforms, and we kind of strolled onto the field in flip-flops, shorts. Guys had the occasional jersey that they brought in their carry-on, Irish baseball t-shirts, and we must look like a motley crew. We were fortunate just to get it in time for the first game. Everybody except Paul Peake, whose bag went to Frankfurt for some reason.
They may have had their uniforms, but Ireland's troubles continued when they faced Denmark in a disastrous tournament opener. The Danes blew the game open with 6 runs in the 4th inning and never looked back. Final score, Denmark 20, Ireland 9. Up next, the Irish took on Finland. Pitcher Cormac Eckloff allowed 1 earned run in 6 innings, but weak defence and a sporadic offence conspired against the Irish. Final score, Finland 13, Ireland 3. Ireland was in a tailspin, but a look around the war-torn country of Croatia provided the Irish with a healthy perspective.
Croatia was absolutely fascinating. When we got there, when we actually flew into the airport, as we landed, you could see out of the corner of our eye, we could see 8 enormous Hind helicopters, attack helicopters, absolutely gigantic things. That was kind of the first hint of what was to come.
Visually, it was quite striking. I mean, everywhere you looked, you could see, you know, bullet marks on walls and half blown up buildings and, you know, that sort of thing.
You would look around, you'd see all the buildings, you know, you'd see it all like spread with bullets or mortar damage or whatever. I was going about taking pictures of it all, and, you know, all the guys were saying, "That must be like back in Belfast, you know, what are you taking pictures of that for?" You know? But yeah, it was very clear that what damage, you know, was done there. It was quite graphic.
One of the things that was really scarily prevalent was everywhere you went there was a complete lack of young men, of anybody from the high teens into the low 20s. When you went out at night, there was very few young men anywhere. Anytime we went to a nightclub, it was absolutely packed with older guys and girls. there was just this very strange and actually unnerving lack of men our own age. And basically, they were all in military service or unfortunately dead.
Back on the field, Ireland took on host and tournament favourite Croatia in Game 3.
That game was an absolute carnival. There was literally thousands of fans there. The stands were packed. They're particularly raucous fans. They were baying for our blood from the outset.
The underdog Irish exploded out of the gate, taking a 3-0 lead in the first inning behind singles from Chris Foy, Russ Manning and John McCarthy. Things were looking bright for the Dublin Nine for the first time in a long time.
I can remember telling the coach, we're out of control. We're out of control. We're going to run these guys into the ground. And then the wheels really came off. Every pitcher we threw in there, and that includes me, couldn't get outs. They hit everything. They hit everything.
Who started pitching that one?
I did. I got pulled. I think I did.
How many innings did you last?
A couple. I don't know. I think I was pulled too early because it definitely got worse.
When it rains, it pours, and the Irish were in the middle of a Croatian monsoon. Irish pitchers were pounded mercilessly as Croatia took a 22-4 lead in the 6th inning. Manager Rick Steen asked Chris Foy to take the mound in an effort to save his remaining pitchers for the following day's game. Foy, a first baseman by trade, was eager to help his new team in any way he could.
It probably was about 7 or 8 years at least, maybe even longer, since the last time I pitched before that game. There was a lot of pressure on me, even though we were losing 14-15-1. We knew it was a pretty much done ball game at that point. But, you know, it was my chance to get out there and impress.
Chris actually has a great arm, and he really looks like a pitcher on the mound. He's good mechanics when you see him winding up and so on, but I guess he has a bit of a release point problem because it could go anywhere.
Chris's first pitch actually went up onto the backstop, a very high backstop, and obviously they knew they were going to kill us.
Well, I think it was the first curveball I threw landed about 40 feet up the backstop, and I'm not even joking, about 40 feet up, and it actually stuck in the backstop. So now the coach is instructing all the batters not to even swing at my pitches. So that wasn't too bad, you know, I get used to that, that's the game. But, you know, out of the corner of my eye, as I'm going through my windup, I see the 6-year-old kid, and he's climbing up the fence. And he's sitting there trying to bang out the baseball out of the backstop in the middle of the inning. And I just sat there. I just didn't know what to do. And it bounces out and back into play. You know, everybody just went nuts. The whole stadium, you know, pretty much just laughed at me. It wasn't a fun experience.
Did he actually ask to be taken out?
I think he tried to get
the
up there.
first time you've ever seen that.
He made a break.
Pitcher.
He made a break for it a couple of times, but he was wrestled to the ground and dragged back onto the hill.
Chris unfortunately wasn't able to get an out, so his official ERA is 0. So if he ever goes back into European competition, you better pray he doesn't get an out, and he'll shoot up to about 234.
It was one of the worst losses in Irish history. Final score, Croatia 28, Ireland 4. The winless Irish squad had been battered and beaten, and with only one game remaining, things weren't looking good.
I think the feeling at that stage was, you know, okay, we've come here, we worked hard to get here, we've got pasted. Tomorrow we have to play the team that's actually reached the final with Croatia, Hungary. So chances are we're going to get beaten again, so we might as well enjoy ourselves while we're here.
We thought we were done for, right? We were after losing to Croatians. We lost to whatever teams we thought we could beat, and the Hungarians were the second best team in the tournament. So we're like, you know what, we're done for, right? So we had a few drinks. it's not like we got totally wasted. We just had a few drinks. But our theory anyway is about going out. Well, do you agree with it? Going out the night before, right, a game, and getting very little sleep. Baseball is a game where, you know, you don't have to be, you have a certain amount of athleticism required, but as the main thing is about being relaxed, right? So if you've had a few drinks the night before and you turn up with little sleep, you can actually be very relaxed.
With their unique strategy in place, a relaxed Irish squad took the field against the heavily favoured Hungarian national team.
The Hungary match in Croatia was one of the biggest games we have ever played. We did not want to come home 0-4. We were down, but at the same time, we were not going to give up. We needed a victory.
Cormac Eckloff got the start, and it was an honour he didn't take lightly.
It's such a huge thrill to me to put on the Irish jersey, and there's nothing in my life that's ever come close to the feeling that when you sing the national anthem before games, before the European games, and when you're standing there and you're representing Ireland, standing on the mound, pitching for Ireland, it's an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Cormac already at that stage had quite a lot of game experience, and he's always been pretty effective in the international competition. I think he games up, he concentrates very well, and one thing that I think he's very good at is getting guys to swing at bad pitches. People often don't hit the ball with great contact against them, so they put it in play, but they won't put it in play that hard often. So that's what I tried to just keep mixing things up and getting them to, you know, swing at bad pitches off the edge of the plate or whatever, and just keep Cormac quite focused and pitch the super game.
The Irish found themselves trailing in the bottom of the 7th inning by a score of 6-5. Sean Mitchell led off the inning with a single and moved to second on Mike Kindle's sacrifice bunt. Gordon Ireland walked. Chris Foy was hit by a pitch. Paul Peake and Darren O'Connor both reached on errors before John Dillon capped the rally with a 2-run single. The Irish had managed to cobble together 5 runs with only 2 hits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of small ball. Meanwhile, Eckloff proved to be a workhorse on the mound, throwing 133 pitches in 8 2/3 innings of work.
From about the 7th inning on, I couldn't feel my arm anyway. Sean, I don't know how Sean got me through that game. He just kept coming out to me. He babied me through that game, basically. Dragged every last ounce, every last strike I could throw out of me.
Final score, Ireland 10, Hungary 9. The Irish had barely escaped with a victory, but once again, they had won a big game in a tough situation. There were other causes for optimism. Shortstop Darren O'Connor of Dublin was voted the tournament's best shortstop, best infielder and best defensive player. Not bad for a kid who hadn't played an inning of organised baseball before the age of 18. The Irish returned home with renewed enthusiasm and a focus on the future, a future that would bring them to the shores of America.
We decided we were going to go to America in 2001. We were going to take the national team and a youth all-star team. Pretty ambitious project, 55 people. But at the end of the day, it came down to money. And we raised £35,000. And that's a serious amount of money. We got great support from the Irish tourism department here in Ireland. They said, yeah, this is a good idea. We want 55 ambassadors to go to America and spread the goodwill of our country. And I think they got pretty good value for money.
We were playing baseball every single day. We were training, we were playing competitive games against very good teams. We were exposed to it on such a level that everybody on the team improved.
They had never played baseball, 6 days in a row. They played in Connecticut, they played in Rhode Island, they played in Massachusetts, and they were received tremendously.
These people took off 2 weeks of their lives to make this one of the most special experiences of our lives.
The Irish were very focused on involving a youth national team. They played very competitive teams in 4 different cities, Newport, Narragansett, North Kingstown, and Hartford, Connecticut, against good teams in good parks with great enthusiasm. They also had exposure to clinics and coaches that they didn't see before.
All of a sudden they were seeing how these other teams went through their infield and outfield practice, how they warmed up before the game. And the next thing you know, you see the kids from Ireland picking up these drills, and the coaches from all the other Little League teams helped.
The kids had played really well at that stage. They'd even hit a couple of home runs. They were in their games, and they were really learning a lot of baseball, and they were definitely building up in their confidence because they had no problem slagging the crap out of us about the fact that we hadn't won a couple of games.
Those players went back to their communities, to their neighborhoods, said, hey, this was fun. We made friends in America. We learned baseball. They took it to a whole new level. Their skills, how kids can improve, their skills probably doubled in that 2-week period. And I think that investment, that part of the program in the summer of 2001 is going to pay dividends for years and years to come.
It was so fantastic. And for Cormac, it was particularly great for him.
My father was born in Fall River in Massachusetts, and my mother is from Dublin, actually. And they met in Cape Cod one summer when my mother was working in a restaurant and my father was parking cars in the same restaurant. Their first date was actually Fenway Park, so it's kind of ingrained in the blood a little bit. My mother basically got homesick and got persuaded to come home, and my father looked at it as a bit of an adventure and came over to Ireland, and we've been in Dublin ever since, basically. I've been a Red Sox fan pretty much from day one.
God, do we ever hear it every day, everything about Boston. He has the Nomar Garcia Parra tattoo on his arm.
First of all, I was drunk, and second of all, I just thought it was, I don't know, a way of showing how proud I was to be going to Rhode Island as a part of the national team. I thought it made a lot of sense at the time, and now I'm stuck with this and I don't know what to do about it.
Pitching today for the Irish national team, number 22, Cormac Eckler.
I definitely had very wobbly knees for the first few minutes. It was hard to kind of even just stomach it. It was a strange feeling. It was very powerful.
It was a fantastic experience. We had the whole setup, all the radar guns going, the announcing booth, everything. It was a fantastic day.
The game was a blowout, but they were anything but discouraged.
Although they're very competitive and certainly wanted to win, they were very focused on ensuring that all the players had an opportunity to play the right positions and experience the day, and the value of experiencing the day would outweigh the final outcome of the score.
It'd be like me walking out onto Croke Park or onto Lansdowne Road.
You stand on the mound, and it's not many people that get to do that job, and you think of all the people who've been there before you, and it's a humbling experience. You really think this is for real, this is the big stuff, and we're here in this hallowed turf, it's fantastic.
Nobody on the team was disappointed with the result itself, because frankly it didn't matter. It was a day to celebrate being in Fenway Park.
I think it also provided a bit of a kick to the guys who maybe thought, oh, this is just a bit of fun. This was real. That they could compete not only in European Championships, but they could play in the Cathedral Baseball, Fenway Park. And we were providing them with that opportunity. I think it was a big It was an important step for the organization because we did pull it off.
The 2002 Irish roster was supplemented by a group of talented newcomers from the United States, each one a citizen of both Ireland and America. There was infielder Kevin Corrigan of Cleveland, Ohio, his cousin outfielder Tom Kelly, who also hailed from Cleveland but was currently living in Dublin. Brian Morris was a right-handed power pitcher from Baltimore. And outfielder Kevin Foy, brother of Chris Foy, added a much-needed left-handed bat to the already dangerous Irish lineup. Ireland renewed its rivalry with Austria in Game 1. The Austrians were a strong club who had crushed the Irish by a score of 14-0 in their only prior meeting. The Austrians jumped out to a huge lead and it seemed like Ireland was in for yet another crushing defeat. But this time the Irish fought back, rallying behind the bats of Kevin Corrigan and the brothers Foy.
All of a sudden it's like, hey, we can play with Austria. You could see this energy build in the dugout where they would think, we're not as bad as we were the last time. We're not losing by 20 runs.
With Ireland threatening to pull off a stunning upset, Austria was forced into a drastic decision.
They changed their game plan to bring in their ace to shut our rally down. Obviously, it was only a moral victory. We lost the game, but we had forced Austria into a huge personnel decision, which possibly had an outcome in the tournament. So we were pretty proud of ourselves that day.
Final score, Austria 8, Ireland 4. The Irish had nearly pulled off a stunning upset in the opening frame of the tournament. But the boys from Dublin were not going to be satisfied with moral victories. They wanted their first medal. Game 2 saw the Irish squeak out an 8-7 decision over Lithuania, behind a complete game effort from Brian Morris. The Irish continued their winning ways the following day with a thrilling 10-9 victory over Finland, thanks to a game-winning single in the 9th inning by centre fielder John Dillon. With a much-deserved day off coming up, the Irish celebrated late into the evening, stopping only after they drank an entire bar dry. It seemed for a moment that Stockholm wasn't ready for this revamped Irish squad.
Then we came along and we met Sweden in the semi-final, and we knew Sweden were going to be the toughest team. They had come down from the A pool, and in all their games up to that point they had absolutely beaten the hell out of everyone.
Tournament host and gold medal favourite Sweden had annihilated everything in its path, outscoring opponents 46-4 in the first 3 games. But the Irish felt right at home, playing the role of underdog.
We always think we have a fighting chance when we get into a game. If we get the right hits, we steal the right bases, we steal at the right time, luck's usually on our side.
We'd seen it before that it's not always the prettiest guys that win, and we found that sometimes we can upset teams like that, upset their rhythm, be aggressive, and they can often fall apart if we get on top of them early. So that's the way we approach it.
The underdog Irish saw their good fortune continue as they jumped out to an early lead. The Swedes and their fans were shocked by Ireland's strong start.
After 3 innings, we're ahead of Sweden 1-0. No one had been within 10 runs of Sweden in the entire tournament.
But Ireland's luck ran out quickly. The Irish watched helplessly as their bats were silenced and Sweden's offense roared to life. Final score, Sweden 18, Ireland 1. The loss meant Ireland would meet Poland in the final game. The winner would leave Stockholm with a bronze medal, and the loser would go home with nothing but memories. Poland held a 5-2 lead going into the 7th inning, but the game was far from over. The Irish responded with 1 in the 7th and 2 more in the 8th. Just like that, the score was tied at 5-all. Poland scratched out 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning to take a 7-5 lead. But the Irish fought back once again, putting 2 on with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th inning. Paul Peake moved the runners over with a perfect sacrifice bunt, and suddenly the Irish were closer to the bronze medal than ever before. Left fielder Tom Kelly strode to the plate, hoping to deliver the big hit that would bring the bronze medal back to Dublin.
We had runners on second and third. I think we were down by 2 runs. Runners on second and third, and I think the pitch was 1-1.
TK ripped an absolute line drive that was about 2 inches foul down the left field line that would have scored both runs and given us the win. Unfortunately, he struck out in his next swing.
Then Kevin Foy was on deck, and I remember, I think on the second pitch, he popped at the shortstop in the ball game.
Final score, Poland 7, Ireland 5.
We were so close, we were very close. It was a game that could have gone either way. The Poles played very hard. We played our hearts out the last game of the tournament. We came very close to getting that elusive bronze medal. Every year we'd managed to take a tiny step forward. We felt that if we'd been able to secure a bronze medal, it would have really shown some kind of reward, solid reward for what we put into, and would have also marked, in a way, our progress to that stage.
To most people, baseball is strictly an American sport, but to this dedicated group of enthusiasts, baseball is breaking down barriers and building ties between people from all parts of this city. A city known for generations for religious division, intolerance, hatred, and violence. The Yankees or the Red Sox, they are not. But what these guys lack in skill and talent, they make up for in sheer enthusiasm.
I lived in the States as a child for 4 years in Columbus, Ohio, and my first taste of baseball was going to see the Columbus Clippers, a minor league team, and I immediately fell in love with the game. I just thought it was the perfect sport.
This field is in a staunchly Protestant area of Belfast. These two teams, the Panthers and the Wolves, are made up of Catholics and Protestants.
Most of these guys here are just playing it for the game. You know, religion doesn't come into it, community doesn't come into it. It's just about sport.
Let's go, guys, let's get two! That's a play, baby! There you go, guys. It's a clean inning. Nice job. Nice throw, dude. Chip, nice play there, Mike. Go on, you're the man. Tamari, nice play. Curly Derv.
I played for the national team through 2000, 2003. I've always talked about representing Ireland, you know. I guess when I first got the jersey, you know, it blew me away. And when I seen my name on the back, you know, embroidered on the back, it was amazing, absolutely amazing, blew me away. Yeah, I was walking about, you know, you see my teeth shining to the moon, I'm sure.
Terry was a really integral part of the team, actually, a really friendly guy, fit in really well, and a very skillful player too. And he was extremely proud to play for what he saw as his country, whether north or south.
Terry is a very happy-go-lucky guy, always sees the bright side of everything. I think even when we were getting killed, you know, 15-16 by Croatia, you know, he'd be sitting there up on the fence, watching the game, you know, a big smile on his face, enjoying himself. That's the type of guy he is.
Oh! He's got some padding. Let it take it, Dave.
Because it's apolitical and because it's associated with the States, which has a very positive view in Northern Ireland, given all the work that was done by a variety of emissaries to help move along the peace process. There's a very positive view of the United States there, and so this baseball is associated with America, so therefore it gets a positive write-up. It's apolitical, both sides of the divide play on it.
Baseball, because it's new to Ireland, it's a neutral sport. The traditional sports that they've played up there have indicated, depending on which sport you play, it indicates which side of the fence you're on.
At the offset, when we were first kind of settling into playing up north on a regular basis, there were occasional incidents. There was one in particular where Jim Kilbride and Mike Kindle were in a van.
This is early days now. I think this is my second trip up there. Go up there,
play our games. I think we got a W. And it's early afternoon, ready to head home. And we're cruising down, and Jimmy's kind of like, oh, jeez, this traffic is desperate. I don't want to deal with this. I know a shortcut. And we're kind of coming into a village down a back road. Looks left, looks right, makes a turn onto a road, and literally, I don't know how he did it. We were in the middle of an Orangeman's parade with the pipes and the drums, and there's Union Jacks flying on either side. And I can see guys kind of like, this is not right. These guys should not be here. We should not have been there. We go maybe 50 meters, and there's an army checkpoint. And these guys are decked out. Camis, helmets, machine guns. Guys, stop. Jimmy stops the van, and I look over into the bushes, and there's a guy like this. And there we are in a panel van, 3 knuckleheads, unshaven, dirty, grimy, with baseball caps on, in a panel van with Dublin registered plates.
When the police opened the back of the van, they found a large number of baseball bats.
I'm going to jail, or I'm going to die in the middle of a Unionist Loyalist Orangeman's parade in Northern Ireland. How am I going to explain this to my wife?
I can see Mike Kimball trying to talk his way out of that one. They were eventually let go and finally got home, but I think they learned the lesson never to take a wrong turn coming back from Belfast.
If the ball's hit to you in the outfield, to throw it into second. Yeah. Okay, we're going to work on it. He's going to do a drill with you to work on that.
Hi, my name's Carol Keeney. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. We moved here to County Cork, Ireland about 7 years ago. My boys really wanted to play baseball, and there was no baseball in County Cork. So my husband and I did the only thing that any good, honest American would do, and that is we started the Baseball League in County Cork, Ireland. When these kids started playing baseball, they knew absolutely nothing about baseball.
When you come up to the plate to bat, there's going to be the batter box. And it's just going to be a box. There will be one on either side of the plate. Situate your weight evenly between your 2 shoulders, and when you swing, you're taking a step forward.
Bring it in a little bit. We want it about here. See where I'm standing? Just about there. Normally we'd, just here where my feet are. That's brilliant. Great stuff. Okay, come down to first base and we're gonna work out. Yeah, come in a bit more. Where the dog is. See where the dog is? That doesn't normally happen in baseball. Very rare that the coach gets to see where the dog is. Although there's a lot of sport in Ireland, and we found this talking to a lot of parents, the kids don't get their game. They're on the bench, they're sitting out. There's, for whatever reason, the kids don't get picked, so we don't have that. We have the Little League ethos where everybody gets to play.
Okay. Oh, you go. Ready? Big swing. Oh, try again. You're gonna run fast, right? You're gonna run fast? All right, here we go. Run, 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 run! Keep running, Neil. Okay.
I've been involved with the youth camp since the first summer I came over to Ireland. I was part of the plan was to help develop youth baseball.
Come on, Neil! Come on! Touch! Touch it! Yes, sir. Hey, I told you it was bad hits, home runs.
We try to make every kid feel and look successful to everyone that's around, So I think that's, just them alone achieving, hitting a home run, even if they miss the first 2 bases and just run to third and back to home, it makes them feel good, it makes us feel good, and hopefully it'll make them come back.
PJ was absolutely fantastic. He was so good with the kids. They can be pretty tough, and to try and get a bunch of kids of that age group to maintain their attention span for any length of time is a really difficult thing to do.
Nope. Stop, 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 stop. Yes! Come here, you're too far away. Switch this hand down below. Now move this hand up, and this hand up. There you go. Now hit the ball.
Nah, I think you planned that. Try that again. Stop. You gotta turn your hands around. This hand down here. No. This hand up. There you go. Now come close. Now hit this ball hard. Okay. Ready? Go.
At that age, it's more important for them just to stay active. And baseball can be a very inactive sport. You got to keep them moving.
No sport here where you throw the ball. Everything is hitting the ball. Hurling, there's a bat, they call it a hurl, but basically it's like a short hockey stick with a round, flat part in the end. They throw this ball up, not dissimilar to baseball in size, much lighter, and they hit it. So they're not hand-eye coordination, they understand hitting.
Now our opposite problem was throwing was horrible. I remember the first couple of weeks coming home going, I don't know what to do.
America, everyone grows up throwing a baseball or a football. Nobody throws anything in Ireland. You take a stick and you hit it or you kick it with your foot.
Now, wrong wheel ground ball. See my feet come round there. I picked it up here. I didn't try and throw like this, which you're doing at the moment. Picked it up, I came around it. I'm there, I'm in a position where my elbow's up, my right elbow, and I can throw the ball much harder and much straighter. So just practice that. Pretend you're getting a ground ball and then go on. Just pretend you got it. Right, getting ready. That's it. And that elbow's got to stay up. You get a more accurate and a stronger throw. Give them a couple more.
It took us about 4 weeks for the kids just to understand the basic rules, such as when you hit the ball, you don't have to run to every base. You can stop at a base. For them to understand that you must have the ball to tag the runner. We set up the situation where we had a runner on second and somebody up to bat. And I was explaining to the kids that to stop the runner from getting to third, you had to tag him out because he was not forced to run. So we started the play, the ball was hit, I had my back to the shortstop, and I yelled, now don't let that runner get to third base. And the next thing I know, out of the corner of my eye, I saw my shortstop do a perfect soccer slide tackle and completely take the base runner out. It was then that I realized that you have to explain everything to the kids. You can't assume that they understand the baseball lingo like kids growing up in the United States would.
Hi, my name is Chloe Bly. I'm from Ryland. I've been playing baseball for 5 months.
Do you have a favorite baseball player?
Yeah.
Who?
Benny Williams.
Billy Williams?
Benny. Or it's Bernie or Benny.
Oh, okay. So can you just say my favorite baseball player is Bernie Williams?
My favorite baseball player is Bernie Williams.
And can you say it again and then tell me why?
My favorite baseball player is Benny Williams because he has hard throws and very hard swings.
Kids like baseball. They love the game. If we had the numbers of people who could manage and administrate throughout the entire country, we could run a clinic in every town in the country every weekend. I know kids, they love the game. There's something different. I think it's the fact that they get to hit something.
name is Ivan Galan, and I'm originally from Cuba, and I came to Dublin, to Ireland, so in 1994, May 1994. I am the captain of the Giants, one of the Irish baseball league, and we are mostly Cubans or from Latin America. I decided to move to Ireland because I didn't see any future for my family in Cuba.
The Cubans tend to be naturalized citizens because they're exiles from Cuba. They're not going back.
They're very animated. Almost any event that happens in the game will spark off some sort of reaction or some sort of chatter and so on, and they do get very, very pumped up. And you know, it's great to see it adds a bit of colour to the game, but also, you know, they're clearly very competitive. I mean, they want to win, and they have a great joy for the game.
Hello, say hello to little Frank.
It's interesting that they have a couple of different sort of age groups. Some of the older guys would obviously have spent more time in Cuba growing up. Quite strong baseball skills, even though some of them are getting longish in the tooth at this stage. Not that I can talk, but
what you see is a 45, 50-year-old man out there playing baseball and loving the game and missing it. And that's why they joined in, and that's great to see.
And there's kind of the young guys who've mostly grown up here, looking to the older guys for instruction and so on.
They see us playing baseball, you know, we are the parents, so, you know, now and then you look at them, it's kind of cool. Let's try it. Let's see what happens, you know what I mean? Because you see them, they're so exciting playing that game. Let's see what's going on, you know? And then they end up loving the game, you know, because at the beginning they didn't, you know, oh yeah, whatever, you know? And we have to sometimes push them. Come on, let's do it. Get a glove. Let's throw it, you know? That's it. I want to play football, you know? And now they love it.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Peter. I'm 18 years old and I play for the Irish national team. I was 9 when I came to Ireland, and my parents decided to leave because the situation is in Cuba, like the whole communism stuff, and we just came over here.
He didn't have a chance to start playing in Cuba, so we had to teach him from the scratch here, you know, and see how far he went in 2 years and a half. How far he went, me practicing with him and explaining to him how the game is played. As we said in Cuba, he having his blood.
I used to play hurley when I first came over here when I was 10, and I was in the paper once for scoring. I think it was 4 goals in one game, my first game ever. And I was in the country about 2 years, and I made a great story in the paper that I was only here 2 years, and in my first game I scored so many goals and stuff, so it was pretty good.
Why'd you stop playing?
Well, I gave it up after a while because it's pretty dangerous. I mean, if you've ever seen it, they're whacking each other with wooden sticks.
What do your friends think of baseball?
They don't think much of baseball. They just think that it's you know, it's just like not a very popular sport, and there's not much involved in it. But I think it's great that I'm playing for Ireland. I mean, I don't care what sport you play, as long as if you represent the country that you live in. I think it's a great honour. It doesn't matter what sport you actually play.
The 2004 European Championships were held in Regensburg, Germany. Ireland was hoping to improve on its 4th place finish in 2002 with the help of several new faces. One of those new faces belonged to first baseman Joe Keelty of Boston, Massachusetts. Keelty stepped to the plate with the bases loaded in the opening game against Finland and set the tone with a monstrous grand slam. The Irish bats continued the onslaught, scoring 10 runs in their first 3 innings, behind big hits from Kevin Foy, Pat Nolan, Russ Manning and Gareth Donnelly. Ireland was well on its way to its biggest margin of victory in international play. Meanwhile, 6'6" southpaw Brendan Bergerson was also having a fine first day on the job, striking out 9 in 5 innings of work as Ireland beat Finland by a score of 25-5. It was a fantastic coaching debut for Sean Mitchell, who had hung up his spikes and was now sharing head coach duties with PJ Fox.
We felt with the team we had we could beat them, and probably fairly comfortably. But I certainly didn't expect it to be that kind of scoreline. And again, you reach this situation where you don't want to run up the score, you don't want to embarrass anybody, but at the same time, I was trying to make sure everybody kind of got into the game.
We'd had that happen to us so many times in the past, that it was a weird feeling to go out and just absolutely destroy a team. We took Finland to pieces, but I think we did it in the right way. And what I mean by that is, we had several times in the past where teams had run the score up against us, so we know exactly how it felt. But Sean and the rest of the coaching team basically emptied the bench, got everybody into the game, and played a tight game, but played it respectfully to Finland. But it did feel good to come out with a whopping win.
While the sudden impact of newcomers Keelty and Bergerson may have caught some fans off guard, John Dillon's 4 RBI performance didn't surprise anyone.
John Dillon is Ireland's captain, and he's a guy that's just transformed himself into this amazing baseball player.
The level of respect that everyone has for him is just amazing. He says something to you, you take it to heart.
Let's go out there. What is it? 110%, all right? Pride and honour. Prode agus honour. Eras 3. Hein do 3. Let's go, guys. Let's go now.
He's a big joker, but once he steps foot in that field, he's just become serious, and he's a totally different guy. He's a leader as well. He's a good leader, I think. He's all about business once he steps on the field.
High praise indeed for a man who had taught himself how to throw and hit a baseball at the age of 25.
It's not that I couldn't throw, but I didn't have confidence in it because, I was used to playing with a softball. That's all I knew, right? Or throwing rocks, but that's pretty much it, right? Over the years, I've just picked up things from the coaches, particularly on batting and throwing as well, just learning tips on how to improve. So it's just listening to the coaches for me and reading books.
When we look at his record in the European Championships, you can see that he's one guy who's consistently hit above 300 throughout all the tournaments that we've attended since '96. It's great to be able to say that about a purely Irish, born and bred and based player.
The Irish met Austria in Game 2. The Austrians were a slight favourite, but the boys in green were confident they could build on their performance in the tournament opener. Coaches Mitchell and Fox gave the start to Chris Gannon, a crafty southpaw with a cannon of an arm, who had been a teammate of first baseman Joe Keelty at Boston College. Gannon got off to a rocky start, hitting 3 batters and allowing 2 runs in the first inning.
I came out there and practically hand-wrapped them 2 runs, and could have been a lot more. Like, I started off and I felt okay. I mean, you can never know. Like, people ask you how you feel, and you say, well, I feel great. And you go out there and you give up 10 bombs, and you walk about 15 guys, and then some days you're like, I feel terrible, and you go up there and you throw like a 1 or 2 hitter.
Gannon put his early troubles behind him and took control, relying on a moving fastball and a fantastic selection of breaking pitches.
He settled down extremely impressively and started to strike guys out, got his fastball going, trusted his changeup a little bit more and his curveball. He really showed us what he had that day. He kept the score, he kept his right in it. The score was tied after 8 innings at 2 each.
The Irish went to the bullpen in the 9th inning, hoping to keep the Austrian offence at bay long enough to mount a rally of their own.
Cormac came in, did an absolutely phenomenal job in relief.
That was a huge game, obviously, and to come into a game when it was tied at 2, obviously the usual feelings. I was extremely proud to be representing Ireland. It was a particularly big day for me because my father and my mother were in the stands, so I really wanted to pitch well that day.
It was the best pitching from Cormac I have ever seen, and I told him that. He stepped up. He showed everyone that he still has it.
The Irish bats exploded for 6 runs in the top of the 11th inning, and Ireland held on to win by a score of 8-2. Just like that, the Irish were 2-0. The march to the medal round continued against unbeaten Serbia-Montenegro.
Who pitched that game? Who was my third starter?
My name's David Callahan.
The Game 3 starter was none other than Rhode Island native David Callahan.
Callahan, yep. Dave Callahan pitched. He's on the mound, you have a shot. you know, any of our pitchers. But Dave's got that. He doesn't blow people away with his fastball. He depends on a curve, and I think he's got a slider, but it's ridiculous.
A keen student of the game, Callahan had studied the tendencies of European hitters as a member of the Irish pitching staff at the 2002 European Championships in Sweden.
I would say the European batters definitely have a tougher time with the curveball. They can hit the fastball, there's no doubt about it, so I knew I was going to come in with breaking balls and just feed them to them all the time.
Ireland took an early lead thanks to an RBI single by Tom Kelly and Joe Keelty's second home run of the tournament. With Callahan in control on the mound, it looked like the game belonged to Ireland. But Serbia fought back and tied the score at 3 going into the 6th inning. The score would remain deadlocked until Kevin Corrigan blasted a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning. That was all the offense the Irish needed as Callahan shut the door for a complete game victory. Good things happen to those who wait, and Ireland had waited for what must have seemed like a lifetime. Ireland was 3-0 and 2 wins away from a gold medal. Their next opponent would be Slovenia, but first, the team had to take care of some very important business off the field.
We met with the mayor of Regensburg. He turned out to be a car salesman, basically, trying to sell us the latest BMW model, you know, for 45 minutes to an hour.
He was ranting on about the BMW 1 Series, and you know, like I could think, what's this got to do with me, and what's it got to do with baseball? I'm not buying one of them. You know, it looked like he was a political platform that he wanted to be there in the public domain, and it was another chance for him. But I saw no bearing on the development of Irish baseball anyway.
Back on the field, the Irish knew that Slovenia would be their toughest opponent yet. Each team was undefeated, and the winner would advance to the gold medal game against host nation Germany. Brendan Bergerson got the start, and he picked up where he left off, striking out 4 in the first 2 innings, while Joe Keelty hit another home run. At the end of 2 innings, the score was tied at 1-1. It looked like this could turn out to be one heck of a battle, but things fell apart quickly for the Irish.
To this day, I don't think a lot of us know what happened that day. We had all the ingredients in place, but things just didn't go right on the day. And it was a combination of things. It wasn't any one thing.
We didn't get on base. We didn't hit the ball. We had errors in the field. It was an overall pretty disgusting game.
Final score, Slovenia 13, Ireland 2. The Irish were devastated. But they didn't have time to dwell on their shattered dreams of gold medal glory. They would once again face Serbia-Montenegro in the bronze medal game. A win would bring home the first medal in Irish baseball history, but a loss would send them home empty-handed once again. The bronze medal rematch had all the makings of a classic showdown. Joe Keelty got the Irish off on the right foot with another monster home run in the bottom of the first inning. But Chris Gannon's control problems resurfaced and Serbia jumped ahead to a 6-4 lead. The Irish had dropped their final 2 games of the 2002 championship, and they were heading down the same path again. The Irish got the rally they so desperately needed, scoring 6 runs in the 6th inning on big hits by Chris Foy and Rory Murphy. Kevin Corrigan's 2-run home run in the 8th inning added to the Irish total. At the end of 8 innings, Ireland held a commanding 12-7 lead. Serbia got one back in the 9th, but Gannon shut the door and the Irish held on for the victory. Final score, Ireland 12, Serbia-Montenegro 8. It had been a total team effort for the Irish. Homegrown veterans and talented newcomers had worked together seamlessly to bring Ireland its first medal in international competition. The Irish had also seen a group of homegrown rookies excel in the first international tournament, with contributions by third baseman Gareth Donnelly and pitcher Niall Rowan. But 16-year-old catcher Rory Murphy had an even bigger impact. Murphy showed leadership skills beyond his years in the field, while posting a .538 batting average. His performance was enough to raise the interest of European scouts, making him Ireland's first legitimate Major League prospect.
I love pitching Rory. He's a fantastic catcher. He's got amazing instincts for his age. He's so solid fundamentally, it's just unbelievable. On top of that, he's a leader already, which is just amazing.
He's got a great bat, good arm. He's really something special. As a coach, you look for Rory Murphy. It's that simple. And it was nice to find him in Ireland.
If a player such as Rory Murphy, who's considered one of the top players in Ireland right now, if he were able to make it to the major leagues, I can't think of anything else bigger that would happen or more impactful in helping grow the game in a shorter period of time than for kids to be able to see someone from Ireland make it to the top level. It would create television interest for us to help get the game on TV, media, newspaper stories. So getting someone to the major leagues has an immediate and long-lasting impact in growing the game.
With a bronze medal and a wealth of young talent, the Irish returned home with their sights set even higher. It seemed certain that Ireland's future held a gold medal in the European Championships and even a trip to the Olympics. But the Irish were about to face their toughest obstacle yet.
I'm very disillusioned, to tell you the truth. I'm disillusioned with the Olympic movement at this moment. There's 38 countries who play in Europe, but no one really cares about that. They only think that it's an American sport. Baseball coming out of the Olympics won't affect hotbeds of baseball. Dominican Republic, Japan, America, Central America. It's not going to affect them too much. They don't grow up thinking, I'm going to play for my country one day. I believe they dream of playing for the New York Yankees or the Texas Rangers. Kids in Europe who grow up, for example. The ideal of playing for a major league team is so far-fetched. The next step is playing for your country. Kids grow up thinking, I'd like to represent my country. That's the ultimate prize. And so when you think, well, I'm not really interested in playing Major League Baseball, I want to represent my country. That's where I think baseball out of the Olympics will affect Europe more than the United States or the Far East or Central and South America. Without that funding, it'll put a lot of pressure on us. We do not get a lot of funding outside the Olympic Council of Ireland. We're going to survive no matter what, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, you're welcome back to the Sunday Sports Show on Dublin's News Talk 106 with Jerry O'Sullivan. We're going until 6 o'clock this evening. It's around about 20 to 6 now, and at this time every Sunday evening, of course, we bring you the local results, sports roundup, and in particular the Irish Baseball League results for this weekend. We had 6 games, and the Black Sox had a good win over the Panthers by 8-6. The Spartans had a very strong win over the Blue Devils at 10-4. Hurricanes overcame the Belfast North Stars in what sounds like a very close match. Hurricanes 6, Belfast North Stars Stars 5. The Tigers beat the Trojans by 11-9. And finally, Greystone Mariners had a close win over the Belfast Wolves at home. This was, of course, Greystone Mariners 14, Belfast Wolves 12.
Baseball would still be a minority sport in Ireland in terms of participation, player participation and awareness about it. But awareness of baseball would be higher than other minority sports because of the fact that it's such a major American sport and a pretty big international sport in general. Because it looks so good on American TV and it's such a storied and historic sport in America that a lot of people follow it. So you get a level of interest that wouldn't be there for other minority sports. People wondering, I wonder what it's like to actually play baseball, because they see a lot of it in the papers and a lot of it on TV from what comes from the States. So that's an advantage that they do have over here, and it's growing.
Good job, Jimmy! Hey, yeah, boy, Jim. Good job, Jimmy. Okay, TK.
Come on, are you ready?
I'm watching the game, Mom. It's number 7 and 1. 7 and 1. Go on, number 7 and 1.
It has taken quite some time, but you know what we have, while our base is quite small, we've got a very, very dedicated base who give hugely of their own free time to make all of the things that we need to happen to make sure that they do happen.
We're really a tight-knit group. We'd have to be that way. We'd have to be. Because if you didn't have a number of people getting stuck in and helping out for the cause, it would all fall apart. It would have, all these aspirations that we had, it would have all fallen apart. We have no business playing baseball in Ireland. Realistically, I mean, here it is. It's actually a beautiful day today, and yet it's cloudy and it's rained like 60% of the day. But at the end of the day, there's something inside. There's a heart that is Irish baseball that really sets us apart. And I think it's all athletics within Ireland. I think they pride themselves on that we're the little guys, but we're not going to get beat, and we're going to do our best to compete. And I think you combine that attitude and that work ethic with athletic ability and good coaching, and now we're seeing some progress.
When I first started playing baseball, there was no way whatsoever that I would have ever envisioned it would become what it has become. It was something to do, it was, you know, a new thing to do, a new sport to try my hand at. I just thought, let's see what this Irish baseball is about and have a go at it. There's no way I would have envisioned that I would have made the friendships I've made. I could never imagine at that time that I would be pitching in the European Championships for Ireland for the best part of 10 years and making friends on that team for the best part of 10 years. I think it has grown beyond anything that any of us would have believed it would become.
In all honesty, I probably would not be here if it wasn't for baseball. I probably would have packed my bags and went home a long time ago. I didn't know anybody when I moved to Ireland, you know, and that was a big, big move, it was a big step. And when I found baseball, I found 40, 50 new friends.
Chris has been a huge part of Irish baseball down the years. He's really grown into it and thrown himself into it. I think this was reflected by the dozens of people that travelled from Dublin to the States to take part in his wedding.
The wedding was awesome. Open bar, food, it seemed like about 1 million different courses of food. Booze was flying all over the place. The music that was playing, it was just a great party. It was a spectacular party. People hear that I'm involved with Baseball Ireland and they play baseball in Ireland. You know, what's that all about? And I explained to them that it's about developing baseball. It's about a love of baseball. But for me, it's so much more than that. These people involved with Baseball Ireland genuinely care for each other. They care for the game, but they care for each other much more. And it's wonderful to see.
I remember seeing Terry Roseboth when we were in Croatia, beg your pardon. And we had finished a game and it was early afternoon. Everyone had showered, some guys gone off and got lunch. And I came back into the room where we were all staying, and Terry was sitting on the windowsill just looking out. I said, Terry, you okay, man? You all right? Are you tired, sick? No. And then he just kind of looked out the window again. I go, are you homesick? He says, no, this is the best. This is the ultimate. Like, I can't get over. He said, I just want to sit here. I just want to sit here and look across at a building with bullet holes in it and remind myself that I'm playing for Ireland in Croatia in the European Championships. It's moments like that I think we've all experienced and realized that it is more than just playing baseball. It's a big family. It's a big family. It's good. I love it. I can't say much more about that.
That's just stupid.